Hello everyone, welcome day one for our AnyAut Certified Developer Training. We will do a short session today, not a very long one. This was the message I initially intended to put, but then after our core team discussion, we wanted to go forward and continue to talk about it. So basically the concept was now we need to get into a code level walkthrough. And to get into a code level walkthrough, you need to be very comfortable with the following topics that I mentioned here. JPACT team is almost there. There is a 90-minute session that I'm doing on Monday at the same time on this schedule, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And in that, I'll be covering a lot to do with how we combine page object model with data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, and make it hybrid. That will be a good stepping stone to understand AnyAut, because AnyAut directly could be a little complex to understand at a code level. So that was the message, and also what videos I wanted the JPACT members to kind of go through as an overview. If Code Java you're comfortable, then just do little test ng. Just get the basic idea. It's not that you'll be able to grab everything off the bat immediately, but just get an overview rather than an end-to-end detail level. Because these things, team, will take time. It'll take, a little time for you to get very comfortable. I'm sure in the next 2 weeks, as we go through the code, as we walk through it and read through the code, you will be able to grasp it very, very quickly from there. So by end of this AnyAut Certified Developer Training, you should become pretty comfortable. And what we'll do, Manoj, is we'll set up a couple of tests, both for AACT and AACD. So our participants are able to do some assessment on their comfort level. And we'll work on that along with Saqib and Sharon, so we can help the team to go with it. So that's the reason I said this initially, but don't worry, let's continue. So what we wanted to do today is very simple, team. You all remember yesterday I did a walkthrough of the application very briefly, what AnyAut does, and this was covered at length by Manoj during the AnyAut Certified Tester training that happened last week. So team, a quick question before I proceed forward. How many of you are not JPACT or Selenium Premium members with ITLN so far? Can I just get a message saying me? Whoever is not. If you're not a member of either JPACT or Selenium, just let me know, please. I think only 2 or 3 people. Others seem to be from the core JPACT team and the Selenium Premium. Okay, cool. So you, I think, are well geared to understand what we're trying to do here. Now, so we went through each and everything at a high level. I didn't really talk about what each and every field does and so on, but that's primarily what you will find in the AnyAut Consolidated as the backend for this. You will note this is the code that we will be walking through, version 12. But to be able to work with the code is primarily doing one thing, team. It is going through the Excel files and it is working on these Excel files, how to interact with it. And the first and foremost Excel that we've used as a template is called the test setup.xls. Now, this has got a few tabs, almost like 9, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tabs, team. And each of these tabs have a specific area of focus on what they do. The first thing is called test setup. This is where a test engineer would come and would start entering information into what they want to be able to test on the application. This is where they will start entering the details about the application, just one entry, because we're working on single application at a time. For each application, there could be multiple modules in it. Modules basically can be divided as core functional blocks within any given application. So it makes it easier for development team, also for testing team to work. So for Interact, for example, as a sample application, we divided it into 4 modules. There are more modules that can be added. It does not, this list does not show the complete thing out of it. In this, what is critical is the module ID. This is the key field. This is more like a primary key if you look at from a database. This is what links us to the next sheets as we go along. Any question that you see in between of what I'm doing, please let me know. The description is very generic. It's just a text. Execute mode is primarily talks about, is this module ready for a test run? Not ready, but are we planning to run a test on this module? Yes or no? And then time elapsed is something we get later after the test execution. Module ID is key right now, as of now team. We're doing just the test setup, okay? Then for each module, you will see multiple test cases. So for example, the admin module, we have the following 5 test cases. For the trainers module, another 4. Trainees 2. Admin 3. These are the different test cases that we have. So there are 14 in total. Do you think Interact as an application or any application is good with 14 test cases, team? No, right? I would assume this will be at least about 300-400 test cases for this application. What we try to do is not create an end-to-end, test cases for the application, but we created sample test cases, modules, and so on. So it's easy for us to make sure our framework is working correctly. So again, in the test case, I get to choose which test cases I want to execute. At the end of it, a result will get generated as to if a test case has passed or failed. And test data sets basically tell us which test data do we use. Do we use one set of test data or multiple sets of test data to be repeated on one test case and so on. So team, once again, for those of you who are not very comfortable in terms of frameworks, this could not be easy for you to understand. Even for the JPACT members, you may not be able to understand the combination as a hybrid framework yet, but do not worry. When I do the session on Monday, I will go at detail. But I'm just showing you how this Excel looks today. And we need to master this Excel, which was already done by Manoj as part of AACT. And that is something we will make sure to continue forward and get into code level. All right. Now, from this specific sheet, test case ID becomes more like a primary key. This gets linked to a test step. So in here, for that specific module, for each test case, there are multiple test steps. And each test step has a unique number associated with it. So we know which step are we currently working on. Then comes the key features team, which is very important. Now, JPACT team, how many of you are comfortable with this Excel template that we've gone through as part of AAC tester training? I'm saying comfortable is like 60-70%, not like 100% team. Okay, cool. So, and just a response to Asha, my question may not be relevant to this topic, but do we need to follow the format high-level keywords for Selenium Live project? It is your call, Asha. Like I said, time is the big constraint, resource is a big constraint for any project. So we need to make sure that you're totally involved into it from a completion perspective. So if you can, then yes. So every step has a description as what that step does. Okay. And that is unique to that specific test case. But then each step can be linked to something called as a keyword that is available from a list of keywords that we call as low-level keywords. Low-level keywords are primarily the smallest action that a user can perform on a web-based application team. So here are the different low-level keywords that AnyAut has built so far. So we've got about 70 in here. I don't think all of them have been built yet from an execution. Anyone from AnyAut core team? Vijay Shankar, you're there. Anyone else from AnyAut core team? Vijay Shankari, can you answer if all of these low-level keywords have been programmed as part of AnyAut or anything is pending? Vijay Shankari?
Yes, Karthik.
Sorry.
Have been added.
Can you repeat again?
Yeah, most of them have been added. We have, but we have tested all the keywords.
Okay. So anything that's pending, right? I would recommend let's keep a status here. Status like completed or pending, so we know if it's ready for use or not.
Sure, we will do that then.
Thank you. Okay. So I don't know if anyone else is there from AnyAut core team today. Okay. So here are the different keywords team, like open browser, double click, take your mouse over a specific location or element, drag and drop, refresh a page, go forward, go back on a browser, close. So all of these actions we perform on a low level keyword. So there are some high level keywords also here. I don't think they should be here. They should not belong here in this sheet because we have a separate sheet for high level keywords. And this basically gives us the ability to break down any test case into small actionable items, and these are our low level keywords and they go out here under the keyword column. But if you notice, there's a keyword type here and you have two options, either low level keyword or high level keyword that you can select. The idea is a high level keyword is nothing but a predefined combination of few low level keywords. So for example, I'm talking about admin login. If an admin has to log in, they have to open the browser, go to that specific URL, click a link, type the username, password, submit, and verify that the page is loaded. So this login has to be repeated many times in many test cases. So instead of writing these, how many, 7 steps repeatedly in our test steps, we combine them under one high level keyword and call them as IAFT admin login. So if you look at this specific next test case, it's just got 2 steps. One is a high level keyword where we are logging in. Second is a close browser. But the same thing, if an admin has to add courses, they will again use the same step, login, perform all the steps, log out, which is again a high level keyword, and close browser. This is a very key concept to understand, team. Very, very important. All right. So this is this is more like a day 1 session. I called yesterday's session as orientation, and I'm calling this as day 1. Now, in the same sheet, we also have something called as element ID and test data. So to perform anything on an application, we need to teach the automation tool 2 main questions. What should be done, which is answered in the keyword column, where it needs to be performing that, which is the address of that specific element, which is answered in this element ID column. And some fields required input, and that is the test data, that is in the test data column. So these 3 are the most important aspects to execute any given test case or test step. So element ID and test data have also been parameterized. So for example, if I see an at the beginning, then I'm primarily looking at that there might be an element ID present somewhere else. So For example, at admin login underscore username is in this sheet now. So I can go and look for specifically that admin underscore login underscore username. And this is the X path to be able to recognize that. The type of element identification is also something that we are adding into it. So we'll be able to support multiple types rather than just XPath. And that's also coming up in a kind of next version for us. So element ID is parameterized. How this helps us is basically if tomorrow anything changes, I don't need to go and change at 100 places where the login username is used. I just have to change it in one place and it automatically gets reflected everywhere it is used. It's just like a parameter or a variable that we see in a program. Okay. Same exact thing with the test data. We have parameterized some of them. Some of them could be hard-coded where we give the exact value. We don't necessarily have to parameterize everything. So either, for example, element ID here, login, click link. So we didn't parameterize. We just said this is what is needed to be able to click on the login link. Same thing here, courses, add new course and so on. We don't need any complex XPath for it. It's pretty straightforward. You'll find element by using link text and that's what we pass as an input. And then the test data goes and navigates to this specific sheet and it finds out for that specific test data ID, we take by default the first column or there'll be a default column that will specify if that specific test case has said, hey, repeat it for multiple sets of data, then it will do the exact same thing for multiple sets of data. Now, this is how the operation will work as part of test steps. So what did we do? So we primarily said that all the information that we want, we're putting it into an Excel. Now I needed to teach my Java code how this Excel has been built and how it needs to understand and read through this Excel file, the multiple sheets, and be able to pass the commands onto the application under test, AUT or SUT and so on. So for this to be able to pass the right commands, it should know how to navigate through this Excel file. And for that primary reason, we created something called as a driver script. We call that as a driver, but in our code, it is known as testsetup.java. So in here, code version 12, the test setup test run, this one, .java is the one which understands how to navigate into that entire Excel and read what it needs to do. Okay. Then comes the next sheet. Once we've identified what is it that we want to execute by selecting here which test cases we're planning to execute out here and so on, we then go to the next module. Is the same thing that we're replicating here, team. So this framework that I'm talking about is right now being dealt at an Excel level. Now the AnyAut app has come up, and what AnyAut app will do is it will give us the ability to enter information and maintain it much more easily and effectively in a web-based UI rather than an Excel UI. Once we are able to move from Excel to AnyAut application, then we don't need to do the backend Excel maintenance anymore. Everything can be done here. So writing the test setup, adding new test cases, modules and test steps, we are doing it in the Excel. Once the app is ready, we will be able to do it directly on the browser. Once we select which ones to execute, then there is another code that gets executed and that will show us the run setup. So finally, we have identified these 5 test cases for execution and for each of them, what are the test steps. In this, what happens is anything that was earlier parameterized will get the real values. So it will not have any more high-level keywords. A high-level keyword also will get expanded. Element ID will have the actual value, be it XPath or the link text. Test data will have the actual test data and not just the uh, what do I call? Not just the variable or parameter. It's expanded. So basically, and it will also say from which set of test data. So for example, remember one test case, we had two test data, so these two, and it should be for the same test case. See, incorrect login, the same test case is repeated twice for two different sets of data, and you'll notice that the username here and here are different, and we are expecting to see it's going to fail equally for both and so on. So this sheet is generated, and this becomes basically the final sheet through which execution can be done. So the run setup is where a user gets to choose which test cases to execute. And once it is done, this sheet will get generated. Then comes the actual test run where the execution will happen. And once the execution is done based on these steps, we get the run results. In the run results, the same sheet that we have here has a few columns which are blank, and they will get filled out. First is the result, if each step is a pass or not. If there's an error anywhere, it will have a description for the error. If there is an error that occurred, then it will also collect a screenshot, and there'll be a link where the screenshot is present on the local machine. It will also talk about the time taken, how many seconds did it take to kind of perform each step. Is it seconds or milliseconds? I think this is seconds, team, because opening, not seconds, I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out. I think this is, let's see, sorry, this doesn't mention the units, we will mention it. So that's where still a few things are being constructed by our core team, and we continue to work on them. And what test data did we execute? So this is how the output will be as an Excel file. But the Excel result is not very easy to look at. It's not easy to navigate and find out exactly. And for that, we run the final one, which becomes the test results. And test results will give us an output like this, a HTML output that tells us at a high level, number one, how many steps we've executed, how long did it take overall, how many steps did fail and how many passed. And then I can drill down to more detail and see what happened to each test case. So each test case, for example, open browser, this is the command, it took so and so time and all that. And so this is in seconds. If you look at this, 12 seconds. So login was, I think, 14 or something, 20 seconds initially. It took too long to open the browser, to launch the browser, but then that's something to do more with the local system and the network connectivity there. And for example, the login button where we said it failed. So here is where we will have the details, and here is where the snapshot would be. The reason it is not pointing to the correct snapshot is because it is a local address. It will be relative to that specific one. But this report will then get embedded with the actual image onto our test results out here, which is yet to be developed. So as an AnyAut certified developer, all right, you need to be extremely proficient with these Excel sheets, team. And that is very important. The test setup, the run setup, the run results, and then the HTML report. So for each of this, we have a corresponding code that is being built, and we worked on that. So setup test_run.java is for that. And then how we go about test_run.java, which is going to do the actual execution. and the different other files that are used for different reasons. So array structure does something specific, low level keywords has its own reason, utilities and so on. So these are the code that we will have to go at a detail level and do a walkthrough. So for example, this is a low level keyword. All the keywords that we saw in this low level keyword sheet, at least all the ones which are ready, have already been programmed and placed in here. So you'll notice for each keyword, for example, open browser, how do we do it? If it's Firefox, what do we do? Chrome, what do we do? All that information is put out here. And it is goes on for all the various keywords that are part of what we do. So this is the kind of effort that was involved into creating. And now our job is to try and walk you through what each one does. Some could be as simple as get text. What should get text do? It goes to the driver, which is the browser, finds an element using the XPath and performs a get text operation, which will return a value, and then this function returns the value back. Now, for example, take page screenshot out here is a keyword, has a few more commands. And this will take us about 2 to 3 minutes to explain you how this code works. What we are expecting you to do as an AnyAut certified developer would be, after you do this, you can then join our AnyAut core team and continue to customize and develop this, which will get you a great hands-on expertise. And as you do it for a couple of weeks or a month, then you'll be in a great position to go into an interview, talk about what you've done, and start implementing it at a project level. That's what we are doing out here, team. So each and every code has to be walked through. And apart from me, my AnyAut code team, the whole team will be available, most of them. And we will divide one per each of us, so we know who's gonna be taking care of which one. In fact, even during the development period, we kind of divided it into each and every one. And then Manoj and I, we used to sit with the team regularly, go through the code, changes, what we've done at each level. Once it's a working module completely without too many defects, then we went from version 1 all the way to version 12. So now, for example, if you look at version 1 when we started and look at the same low level keywords, you will notice there will be only very few on here. So open browser, it is done, but it was not done completely correctly, and it just has a few, like 150 lines here. But the same one in version 12 has got 600 lines. So we have two options: either start by teaching from version 1 onwards, but that's gonna take forever. So we want to take the bigger route of doing it directly from version 12, which is the latest one. Once we do this, you are coming up to speed. Once you're up to speed, then it becomes easy for you to start taking it to version 13, version 14, and so on. And these are all versions for our pre-beta release team. It's not even the beta release. And once we are confident that it's working together well along with the web-based UI, then we are ready to launch a beta version for AnyAut and have users start looking into it and say how get their experience as well. So that's the overall game plan, team. Any questions, anyone? Or comments? No, none, is it? Or did I miss any? Okay, is there any specific reason why hash is added before the test data? Actually, no big reason. It's a good question, Ruxana. Why we added a hash towards test data and a @ symbol for element ID. The only thing is, visually for us, it is easy to identify if it's parameterized or not. When we move to the application in the web-based UI, we can forget about that, because either, for example, when we load this app, this is how the test steps will look. If I say high level keyword, I get to choose what high level keywords. If I say low level keywords, then I get to choose which low level keywords for that specific step. And here, element ID, either I can enter it here, a new one, or I can pick it from the list. If it is not there in the list you want to create, we'll have a button here where we select or add a new one. Same thing for test data, and that you can see it out here where we're saying select or add. So we're implementing it here first, and then we'll be able to do. So if I click add, I should be able to create a new element map and put that information there. And the same here, add, I can create a new test data and put it there. If I want to select, then I have the option out here. So there are three options. User could input an element ID, select it, or create a new one. That is what user could do while adding high level keywords and also while doing test steps. It's not yet completed here, and that will be coming up soon. Let's see, Ruxana, I hope that answered your question. Yes, Asha, you're right. The execution time, I don't think it's in milliseconds. I think it's in seconds, because when I went here, right, 16, 17, 44, then 16, 18, 17. So this 32 seconds, and that's what would have been put in the run results also. Actually, it didn't put the time out here. I wonder why. This we'll need to check. Maybe it's still a defect that we have. It's a big process, Tim. It's a laborious thing. But then, since we built it from ground up, we know exactly how we built it. It's easy for us to explain, and we will be making AnyAut very simple at the end. That's the reason. The complexity is all at the code level. Okay, Sri, question from you. Can I catch if I join now? I got some gap, so forgot Java and WebDriver as well. Past 3 years, I'm doing manual testing only. Of course you can catch up, but maybe not for this batch. It'll be for the next batch. So you can start with either Selenium Basic or Advanced training, go through that rigor, and then get to AnyAut Certified Tester and Developer. The graph shows it's milliseconds. Graph, okay, let me see. It says 5 minutes, 1 second plus 151 milliseconds. So I don't think it shows just milliseconds. It shows everything. All right, team, any other questions for me? So what's the plan for day 2? Is going to be primarily, we will start with, like I mentioned out here, going through the combination of page object model and a hybrid framework and how it is built. So you'll get an idea. So we'll not touch AnyAut on day 2. On the day 3, which will be on Tuesday, we will start going through the code level walkthrough for AnyAut, and that is where the AnyAut core team, which has helped to develop, will be participating along with me in walking through this. All right, all clear, everyone? Any questions before we end the session today then? Manoj, anything that you think, recommend that I should say that I missed out? Okay, let me answer Asha's question, and let me make sure if I understand it correctly. Some of the entire JPACT team is going at with the same Excel, which I believe you're saying is the AnyAut Excel format. And I'm a bit confused. Do we need to follow the same? Because many people don't even know HLK and LLK. Yes, we need to follow the same format, Asha. When I showed you the keyword driven framework as part of Selenium Advanced training, I did not use AnyAut format. When I'll show you the page object model in the hybrid framework, I will not use the AnyAut framework, that same template. But then you will see how that Excel changed from data driven to a keyword driven page object model in hybrid, and finally that became the AnyAut Excel format. So AnyAut Excel format is a much more advanced version. It is okay to be confused because you're getting exposed to it for the first time. And very honestly, team, the development team which went about creating this had a tough time in understanding about this application. I had to actually sit down with them and walk through them field by field as to what it needs to be doing. We also created a requirement document on this at a very high level, what it should do, but still there were many questions on it. The main thing that this specific UI of AnyAut app is doing is it is trying to simulate this test setup.xls format. Data entry instead of Excel has to be done here. No logic or no execution is done from here. Once it is ready and they say which ones they want to execute in run setup, then the test run will actually take the entire core framework that we develop, which is in Java TestNG with Selenium WebDriver, and it starts taking all the details from the run setup and executing it. So it's okay to be confused, like I said, but as we keep going, it'll become easier. And that is the reason in the AnyAut Certified Tester training, we gave you the exercises to start writing the test cases in that format. Now, for the Selenium Live project, you don't necessarily have to use the AnyAut Excel format. You don't. Do note, team, the Excel is a version that we changed from each framework. Data-driven framework was one template. Keyword-driven framework became another template. So where is the Selenium Advanced Training here? So if you look at data-driven framework template, it was very simple, right? Let's see this. Just said, hey, what are the different test cases we have here? We just put some details here, and the test data, instead of putting it, hard coding it, we said we'll put it out here, right? It's there in a format. It is more row wise out here. Then when we move to keyword driven framework, we kind of expanded on that, and we created this template where I said test cases are put here, test steps are put here, and all of them are hard coded. When a page object model comes, you'll notice that another sheet will get generated and so on. And we also didn't put all these keywords as a keyword sheet here. We created a very simple one. And then the hybrid framework will combine everything. Finally, the AnyAut. So it's a level game, team. You have to go through each level. We cannot just say that I'll master AnyAut right away. It can be confusing. So like programming, I said, first we'll learn to read and so on. The same way we'll start small and build. So we have done data driven, keyword driven. We're going to do POM and hybrid, and then we will be able to do get a great idea on the AnyAut Excel. Does that answer your question? Okay. Thank you, Asha. Irath, let me look at your question. I'm new for the JPACT training, and today is my second day. Do I need to do the prerequisites first before the AnyAut training? So Irath, you're saying that you've just joined the JPACT training, correct? Is that true? If that's the case, I would strongly recommend don't worry about AnyAut Certified Developer right now. We will repeat this again next month, or we will have the videos available for you. But start with the Selenium basic training, advanced training, and then this, please. Or else you'll be lost because the core is not yet done. Alright? I think you should start your focus from Selenium basics, advanced, AnyAut certified tester training, then AnyAut certified developer training. You all, I hope, are understanding the complexity to which this is being built, right? At the back end, And at the same time, how do we make it simple enough at the front end? And also to make it much more easy for the end user to be working on from the web front end, we're going to put some short videos and good documentation that will help them understand what is a dashboard, what are each of these things, what happens in application under test, so that it is self-explanatory for them through a video or through the description for it. That's what we're going to be doing as part of the application development. All right, any final questions, please? Are these live classes for Selenium, or do I need to watch recorded videos? So Edith, let me answer that, and I'll take a few other questions offline with the sales team. Right now, just start with the videos. In maybe couple of weeks time, we'll be starting a new batch. Then you can also join the live, but by then you already have gone through videos, so you've got some base, and joining live at that time is a great repeat for you. All right. All right, everyone. That's it for me then today, and we'll see you back in the next session, which is going to be on Monday. It will not be on the same link. It will be on a different link, which is only for our JPACT and other premium members who are there. Thank you all. Have a great evening, morning, wherever you are. Have a great weekend. If I don't get to interact online with you all, we'll see you back next week. Take care. Bye now. Thank you. Bye.